Welcome everyone. So just now we learned the main method and print statement, and we used the print statement to print hello world to the console. And now let's talk more about this print statement. Let's talk about the details of this print statement and how it works. So this print statement that you learned just now, it is a print method that prints the given text and adds a new line after printing the last character that you gave. So every time when you use this print statement, it is going to print whatever the string of text that you gave. After printing the given string of text or any other value, then it's going to append a new line. For example, if I was using this print statement to print hello, after printing hello, the last character O, then it is going to append a new line so that the cursor will starting from the new line. Okay? Which means if you have another print statement, printing will take place starting from here, starting from this new line, because this new line has been appended by this first print statement. So if I have my second print statement that is printing world, okay, this world, it takes place starting from this line, which was the new line that was appended by this first print statement. And then after the world is printed, since I'm still using this print statement println, it's going to append a new line and move the cursor to the third line here. Meaning that if I have another print statement, it will take place starting from here. So this is one of the print statement. And we also have another type of print statement, the print method without this ln characters. Okay, so this print method, it does the same thing as the println method. It's going to print whatever the value that you give, except it does not append a new line at the end. Since it does not append a new line, the cursor stays at the same line. When you use the other print statement, after printing all the characters, it would move the cursor to the next line. But here in this print statement, since it does not append a new line, the cursor stays at the same line. Okay, so if I'm using this print statement to print hello, hello will be printed and then the cursor still stays at this line. It does not append a new line. Which means if you have next print statement, this next print statement printing, it takes place starting from where it's left off. Right after this O, it prints world. Okay, and since this print statement is also print method without this ln characters in it, it's not going to append the new line. Okay, so let's take a look at let's do a practice with the print and println those methods. Please create a new class under this package module 9. Name it println print. Okay, I'm going to give you a couple examples of println method and the print methods. Let's see the difference between those two print statements. And in order to make sure that later on I will be able to print something on console, first of all, what do I need in this class? We are going to need the main method, right? So why do I need the main method for in the class? The main method, it makes your Java file to be runnable. It allows you to run this Java file as the Java application. Every Java application must contain a main method. Otherwise, you will not be able to run it as a Java application. Okay, because when the interpreter executes the code, it executes it by calling the main method, which means any code fragments within the main method's body gets executed from top to bottom. And this is the shortcut for creating the main method. Make sure you always do the reformat function of the IntelliJ to reformat the codes. So suppose that here I have this print statement that is printing hello. Okay, and I also have another same print statement that is printing world. Now what will happen? This print statement, it prints the hello in the first line, right, on the console. And then after printing this hello, what will happen? This print statement, it is going to append a new line. Okay, so let me first run this code that contains this print statement that is printing hello only. See, hello is printed, but the cursor has been moved to the next line. Which means if I have the next print statement that is printing world. This world will be printed starting from this line, okay? Because cursor has been moved to the next line. And since this one is also println method, it's going to move the cursor to the next line afterwards, okay? So this is the println method. And let me use this print statement to separate it from the next print statement. So this time, let's use the other print statement. As for the other print statement, we don't have the shortcut. So what I would recommend you to do is just use the shortcut of this regular print statement and delete this ln characters in the method name. So this is the print method. And in this print method, let me do the same thing. I'm going to give hello in this first print method. And then in the second print method, let me copy paste it to the next line. In second print method, I'm going to print world. Now, what do you think is going to happen? So if I run the program, you see, hello is printed here. Right after hello is printed, it did not append a new line, right? Because this print statement does not append a new line. So therefore, the next print statement, it takes place starting from where it's left off, which means starting from here. Then it will print world. And after printing the world, do we have a new line on the console? Did the cursor move to the next line? No. The cursor still stayed at this line on the console. Because this print statement, it does not append a new line after printing the last character of the string of text. Okay? So that's the difference between this println and print those two methods. Both of them are used for printing to the console, but one of them appends a new line after printing each value, after printing the given value, but the other one, it does not append a new line. And let's take a look at this example. In this example, we need to analyze what will be the output of the following code fragment. In the following code fragment, we have 4 print statements in total, and first and third ones are the print methods without the ln. And the second and fourth are the print methods with ln characters. Okay, I'm going to give you this code fragment in the IntelliJ, and then we are going to analyze it together. And now you see, since the cursor has not been removed, how can I make sure that there will be a new line on the console? I have to append a new line, right? For example, if I do not append a new line, and if I copy this print statement from line 10 to the line 15, do you think those dashes will be printed right after starting from a new line, or right after this hello world? They are printed right after this hello world, you see? I want those dashes to be printed starting from the new line. So therefore, if I wish to add the new line before printing those dashes, multiple dashes that I have, I would need to add one more empty print statement that appends a new line. So if you just give this print statement, this empty print statement, it just appends a new line, that's all. So now you see, I have hello world here, and then this print statement, it appended the new line. After the new line is appended, cursor has been moved to here. And then we have this print statement that print those multiple dashes. After those multiple dashes printed, then the cursor has been moved to the next line as well, because here we are using this print method. Okay. And now let me give those code fragments, and we are going to analyze the output together. Okay, so here are the given code fragments. First print statement, it is printing hello, okay, by using this print method. So which means hello is printed on the console at the first line, right? At this line, hello is printed. But after hello is printed, will there be a new line? Since this print statement does not append a new line, the cursor will not be moved to the next line. So cursor will stay right after this character O on the console. Then we have this println method that is printing CYDEO. So since the cursor stayed here, CYDEO will be printed right after this character O. Okay? So therefore, hello CYDEO is printed in the same line. But this println method, after printing the CYDEO, it's going to move the cursor to the next line, because it appends a new line at the end, right? So hello CYDEO is printed in one line, and then the new line will start. And then in that new line, we have this print statement that is printing welcome. So welcome is printed in that new line. But after welcome is printed, do we have a new line? We don't, because this print method does not append a new line. Which means the next print statement, it will be printed right after this character welcome. So that's why we end up getting hello CYDEO, welcome to Java, and welcome after welcome to Java is printed, this print method, it appended a new line. Okay, so that's the difference between the print and println, those methods. Remember, this print method, the one that I'm highlighting right now, it does not append a new line, so cursor will still stays at the same line on the console. However, the next print method, it appends a new line after printing whatever the value that you gave, meaning that the cursor will be moved to the next line on the console. So here, this is our output. Hello CYDEO, I love Java programming. So here I could change it to I love Java programming. So I love it printed, but the new line hasn't been appended. Then the next print statement, it's going to append this Java programming right next to it. So we ended up getting hello CYDEO, I love Java programming. And we also have another print statement which is used for printing errors on the console. So the syntax of this print statement is very similar to the regular print statement, but instead of out, here we will give ERR, which stands for error. So when you use this print statement, it will display the given messages in the red color to the console as an error. And then we have the comments. So in Java, we have the comments. Comments are used for they are used to add the explanatory text within the code. But the explanatory texts that you added within the code, they will not be executed as the part of the program. So those comments, you can give it in your codes to make your codes more readable and understandable to the user. But those comments that you gave, it will not affect the actual output of your source code, okay? Because they will not be processed. And when it comes to the commands, there are three types of commands we can use. First one is single line command. So the single line command, it starts with // and then after // anything that you give in that line will be taken as a command. And remember, this command, it only works for the single line, okay? So after this // anything that you gave will be treated as a command. It will not be treated as the source code, okay? And then we have the multi-line command. Just in case if single line command is not enough for you to give the commands that you have. If single line is not enough, then you may need multiple lines. Then you could use multi-line commands. Usually multi-line commands, we use it to give the explanation of a script of codes, okay? So every time when you are trying to give this explanation of a script, it's going to take multiple lines. In order to do that, we will use this multi-line command, which starts with the / and *. After / and *, you can give as many lines of commands as you want. But in order to close the multi-line command, you must close it with one * and /. Okay. And then we also have documentation command. So the documentation commands, they are usually used for giving the documentation for a specific class or interface or a function or a method. Okay, that's what documentation command is used for in Java. So if you want to document the class, or if you want to give the documentation of the functionality of a specific method, then you could use the documentation command. Okay, so let's take a look at those comments examples now. Let's do a couple more examples with the comments now. Suppose that here so far I have created main methods and print statements in this class. Okay, and for each of the lines of codes, I want to leave some comment at least to make sure that it's understandable to me when I look back to this class the next time. So for example, I would like to leave some comment to explaining what this is. Okay. So therefore, right next to this code, I can give a single line command. And the moment that I start the single line command by using this // anything that is given after this double forward slash will be treated as a command. It will not be a part of the source code. Okay. So it is also important where you place your double forward slashes when you use the single line command. For example, if I place it before this closing curly brace, you see this closing curly brace, this opening curly brace, it will no longer be treated as the part of the code. Okay, that's why now it's telling me that the opening curly brace now is missing. Okay, so you have to place those commands at the right place. So if I want to give single line command to this method, I have to make sure that I do not comment out any parts of this method. If you comment out any parts of this method by using the single line command, then it indicates that this is not the main method. This is just a command. Okay, commands are not processed. So therefore, in order to give the command for this line for this line of code, after this line of code, then I will give my double forward slash. Next, I can give the commands afterwards, such as this is main method. Okay. And when I run the program, this command that I give, it will not be printed on console because it will not be processed. Okay. And I could also give commands to other lines of code that I have. This is a print statement. Such as this, for this one, I can give the command like this is a print statement that prints hello to the console. You see? So by having those commands, we can make our codes much more understandable and readable as well. Okay? So this is a single line command. And of course, if you are going to give multi-line commands, if the commands that you're about to give takes multiple lines, more than one lines, then you should be using multi-line commands. Okay? Because single line command, it does not work if you want to give commands that takes more than one line. You could declare multiple single line commands, but it's still the best if you just use one multi-line commands instead of multiple single line commands. So to start the multi-line command, you always start it with forward slash and asterisk. Okay? And IntelliJ is a very smart tool. As soon as you give this asterisk, forward slash and asterisk and hit the enter key, then it will automatically gives you the closing of the multi-line command. So which means you could take as many lines as you want between this opening and closing of this multi-line commands. Okay? So for example, here I can give comments like I have learned print method, println method. Okay. See, I just use this multi-line commands to give those 3 lines of comments. Okay. And when I run the program, those multi-line commands also will not affect my actual source code. So this multi-line command is usually used if you want to give the explanation of a script most of the time. And we have, besides the multi-line command, we also have the documentation command. So the documentation commands, they are used for giving the documentation of a class or functions. Okay, if you want to document the class or functions, then you could use the documentation command. So this is how you give the documentation command. You give forward slash and double asterisks and hit the enter. It will automatically give the closing of the documentation command. And here in this documentation command, I can write the code fragments that are needed. For example, this class contains the examples of print and println methods. You see? And of course, when you use the documentation command, you could also include some special tags such as parameter, author, arguments, program, etc. Those special tags, you will also learn it in the near future. For example, here I could give the special tags like author, okay? And author, I can name it as CYDEO, as the author. And I could also give the program this tag to specify that the program that I'm using is Java, for example. You see, this is the documentation now. Okay, thank you so much, everyone. See you all in the next video.